Can you help? Can you help me? Can you help? Self-Helpless! Can you help? Can you help me? Can you help? Self-Helpless! Can you help? Can you help me? Can you help? Self-Helpless!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Self-Helpless. I'm Kelsey Cook,
I'm Delaney Fisher.
and today we are doing an episode on body positivity, which was a Helpster's Choice voted topic. If you want to vote on the topics we cover on the show, you can do so by joining our Patreon community at patreon.com/selfhelpless. And we are joined by such a fantastic guest for this topic. We have on Jessamyn Stanley. She is an internationally acclaimed voice in wellness. She's a yoga teacher, body positivity advocate, and writer. She co-founded the Underbelly, so that's where you can go and find unique and inclusive digital wellness experiences featuring yoga classes taught by her, so many things to enhance your well-being. She has a book called Everybody Yoga, Let Go of Fear, Get on the Mat, Love Your Body. And she has this incredible following online, and she does naked yoga classes. And this has totally changed mine and Delaney's idea of yoga, where we're like, I mean, I know both you and I do love yoga, but I've never even thought of doing it naked. And the benefits that can come from that, I think, are massive. So Delaney and I are both excited to try naked yoga.
Yes, very. I just love this whole conversation about just self-acceptance and self-love, and it doesn't have to be butterflies and fucking rainbows all the time. Like I love the breakdown of, body acceptance doesn't mean that you love every inch of yourself all the time. It's like just allowing you to just be. And then this concept of body neutrality. I just learned so much from this conversation. And we all opened up about pretty vulnerable stuff. So it was just felt good for the soul. One,
it feels like it came at a good time, this topic. I know I had some stuff to talk about with it. You had some stuff to talk about with it. And she just was an incredible guest. I think you guys are really going to love this conversation. This is coming out on June 19th. So I'm going to be at Flappers in Burbank this Saturday. I have a feeling like that show will be sold out by then, because shows have been selling out like crazy lately, which is so exciting. Thank you guys for coming out on the road. It is my actual dream. You guys are making my dream come true to be on tour with sold out shows in these cities. It's just the coolest thing to see. So I can't thank you enough. I've got so many tour dates coming up outside of the show this Saturday in Burbank. You can go to kelseycook.com, see all of those upcoming dates. I'm going to be in Phoenix in July, and let's see, Dania Beach, Florida in August, Davenport, Iowa, just tons and tons. So check it out. And I'm also hoping that by now The Hustler has hit 2 million views on YouTube, because that's kind of what it's on track to hit by the time this comes out, which would be so fucking crazy. So if you haven't watched my special yet, please go watch The Hustler on YouTube.
Yes, that's exciting. If you want to come and listen to another podcast, I got another one for you. It's called the Minimalist Business Podcast. You can find it at delaneyfisher.com. And although I've been supporting a lot of mental health and wellness professionals in my space with their businesses and careers, after really like serving my community over there and talking to so many of you, I'm definitely like opening some space kind of up for a little bit more holistic career consulting over there, which I'm really excited about. And there's a big interest in it. So I am doing that if you want to come on over. And so my podcast content is going to be kind of transitioning a little bit too, where we're not as focused on that niche per se, but just career building and business building and how it all works together. Because I know for me, like building my dream career has not just been about running my own business. There's so much else that encompasses that. And so, I'm doing another pivot. Who'da fucking thunk? Who did I just say? What a fucking, why can't I say that?
I want to leave this in.
Okay. Delaney Fisher doing yet another pivot. God, I exhaust myself with it. But it just feels like the right next move that I'm zooming out a little bit. And I would love to have you over there. So delaneyfisher.com for that podcast.
Incredible. Well, we are just going to go ahead and get right into our interview with Jessamyn, and we will talk to you guys in the outro.
Jessamyn, thank you so much for being here today. We are so excited to chat with you and all the fabulous things that you do in the world.
My goodness. Y'all, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored and humbled to be here, truly.
Oh man.
Awesome. Well, we'd love to hear about if you have a favorite or least favorite quote before we get into all the other juice.
I do. I have a lot of favorite quotes, and I'm wearing a turtleneck right now, so you can't see, but I actually have them tattooed on my arms because I like need to
Oh,
remember them all the time. But
Yes,
the
yes.
one, the one I would say is like the one that come back to the most is throw away yesterday. Today is a brand new day. And it's from a Sia song called The Church of What's Happening Now. I think of that like every
Oh,
day.
yes. Oh, I love that. It's such a good way to put it to throw away yesterday. You know what I
Literally.
mean? It's just like it's done. We're not in it anymore.
It's so hard too because like I don't know about y'all, but I just get so hung up on like things that I would change about the past or like, oh, if I could just go back. And like I'll also think a lot about the future and be like
Hmm.
obsessively like, well, what can I do to make this thing happen? And it's like you don't even need to worry about that. You can just be here right now. And I
Yes.
it's hard to remember that though, I think.
Yes.
oh, I love the fact that you have them tattooed on your arm. We've talked about that, like getting our favorite tattoo or quotes tattooed over our body.
Did y'all
Um,
see the movie Memento? Does that mean anything to
Yes.
yes,
you? Yeah,
Hmm.
that
yes.
was the vibe. I was like, I need to get into this for my life. Yeah, no, that's what that is.
Yes. Yeah, I've wanted to be a human sticky note many times of
Oh
just
yeah.
like
Mhm.
there's certain quotes out there that really I feel like I need to see on a daily basis. So, yeah, big fan of the quote tattoos.
Love it. Could we just start off with some basics of like what is body positivity and what is body neutrality and how does that relate to the movement that we're in and experiencing?
Totally. I always think of body positivity as being like the younger sibling of fat acceptance. And fat acceptance has existed since like the 60s, 70s. And it's really a movement to show that fat people deserve to exist and that we shouldn't have to apologize for our lives and for our bodies. And that there are a lot of different ways that systemically we put fat people down. So from that comes body positivity. And body positivity is more general. And the idea is like, you're okay today. Everything about you is exactly where it needs to be. You don't need to change a thing. And that when you feel a sense of calm and ease with your body, then you can do whatever you want. But that you have to start from that place of accepting your body fully. And I would say that like body positivity, body acceptance, they all kind of live in this world. Even body liberation, which is really like taking ownership of your body and feeling like a sense of freedom because you're not seeing that your body is like attached to your parents, your family, your friends. It's not attached to the media, that you own your body. And then body neutrality is like you if what would happen if you just assume that your body is neutral, like there's nothing good or bad about your body, it just
Mhm.
exists, and then you go forward from that place. But I think it's kind of like everybody brings beer to the party and it just doesn't really matter as long as you get to the party, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's all kind of the same idea. It's not,
Right.
I don't really see that it matter to me. It doesn't matter that much like where you end up on it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah. I think one of the hardest things that I have been feeling as I've gotten older is just really understanding that my body is different on a daily basis, sometimes even an hourly basis, depending on where I'm at in my menstrual cycle, what I've eaten that day, what kind of sleep I'm getting. And that's become harder and harder to just accept that no matter what I'm doing, it's going to look different all the time. I talked on the podcast recently about getting an IUD a few months ago, and almost instantaneously it made me gain weight and water weight, and it just changed how part of my body looked, like my lower stomach, and I had a really hard time with that. And I think the concept of body neutrality that you're talking about is so powerful to try and take away positive, negative, anything, and just accept your body for what it is, and that
Mhm.
it's this miracle that's keeping you alive.
And I
Yeah.
really appreciate you bringing up age because I feel like the thing that is constant in life is change. Like your body is just going to change. And
Yeah.
it like, and there's so much gratitude for that too, because thank God you get older. Like thank God you get to live
Yeah.
another day. But I think that we live in like a youth obsessed society, so that it's really hard to accept that your body isn't the way that it used to be. And like
Yeah.
just being able to say, this is the engine that I was given for this turn around the sun. Like it's not
Hmm.
that specific. It's literally just like, this is what I'm working with. I'm just going to take it as it is and go
Yeah.
forward from there. And then everything is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you think like I mean, I know, patriarchy, but where's like the root of the fact that like, why is our self-worth so tied up into our how we look versus why isn't it like our self-worth is wrapped up into like how much we contribute to other people or I don't know how much we learn on a daily basis? Why is it about appearance? So like what is this
Mm,
obsession we have about appearance?
mm. I mean, I know it seems simplistic to blame the patriarchy, but I do think that there is so much that is just like, if we just compare patriarchy and matriarchy, like patriarchy is all about the exterior, whereas matriarchy is all about the interior. So that like it's not even personal on patriarchy, low key. It's just like it's just the difference. It's a difference in thought. But I mean, I think that we tend to look to one another for confirmation of our existence, so that to feel a part of the group, um to feel like you're connecting with other human beings. I think very often we prioritize that over any experience of self, so that we end up finding that our entire identity is based off of how somebody else feels about us. And like maybe they like what you look like. Maybe your partners, friends, family, whoever, like maybe they like what you look like and they confirm it. But if they don't, then for any reason,
Hmm.
then there's a feeling of fear of being culled from the herd. And I think it's really just we're all seeking a sense of belonging and just want to feel connected to other human beings. And it's hard because there's so many different layers to this topic. And I think that to really accept your negative self talk is to take a closer look at the people who are around you and
Hmm.
just wonder like, who's here? What do they say about me? What do they say about themselves? And that's the thing that I think we really miss. um in the have y'all read the Four Agreements? This is book me and Nikki.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We've done an
um
episode on it.
Oh my
Totally
God,
love it. Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
then, so the agreement of don't take anything personally really resonates for me here, because it's like, I think that when we feel judgment from other people, like too fat, too short, too whatever, like we think that we're experiencing them looking at us, but ultimately we're always just getting whatever it is that they feel about themselves. So like if your friends
Yeah.
say negative things about you, they're not actually saying them about you. It's really about that's how they feel about themselves. And
Yeah.
so even just being able to notice that, I feel like that is a really huge part of seeing how that negative self-talk really manifests in our lives.
Mm,
Yeah.
much
I
sense.
agree so much. And not just with the people in our lives, but what we're feeding our minds through social media and through ads. And I wonder if you've found anything helpful to try to combat that messaging. I mean, I know that we can choose what accounts we follow and stuff like that, but God, it is so pervasive. It feels like we are always getting inundated with whatever the new hot body, whatever the definition of hot is. It's like it seems
Yes.
inescapable.
Oh my God, literally. And I mean, I don't know. I think that there's a couple of different things. One, I feel like anytime that you're seeing somebody else on the internet and it feels like they're showing a version of life that belittles your own, I think there's a piece where you can remember like that person, they're just a human. They have whatever insecurities you have, that person has. And that's really
Hmm.
big for me, because like when I follow people, like there are people that I follow who I think would have a stronger negative impact on me. But sometimes I look at their stuff and I'm like, oh, I can see how you're like insecure, or I can see where you're just, trying to put on a show a little bit. And I think that's totally fine. Like we're all putting on a show. Are we not all
We're
putting on a
all
show
putting
for
on
our like stuffed animals? It's fine.
This is Broadway. Yeah.
Literally.
Figure shit out. Yes.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's the show of figuring shit out. Exactly. So like, but I just feel like we connect. I try to find that humanity in everybody that I'm following. Like whether it's Kim Kardashian or like my friend from high school. I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, y'all have the same insecurities that I do, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
sometimes it hits harder, so I don't I don't want to make it seem like, yeah, and then everything is fine. No, sometimes you gotta. But then the next thing for me is really like curating the feed, so that
Yeah.
I'm kind of to a point with my feed where, I mean, to a fault, because you end up missing stuff, but there's so much that like I don't follow, or like I
Right.
intentionally unfollow, and will be like, and at this point I feel like it has to get really specific. And like even if it's something that you're like, yeah, most of the content is fine, but like sometimes this just really edges on my nerves, like I'm just like, unfollow. I don't need this in my life. Like, and it's no shade on whoever it is or whatever it is, but
Right.
that. But then the other piece of it for me is just like being really intentional about screen time, and like when I'm looking at screens, because I think that the time of day makes such a difference to me. Like if I'm
Mm.
scrolling right before bed or first thing out of the bed in the morning, it totally
Yes.
fucks with my day. It's like I
Yes.
cannot, it becomes what I'm dreaming or what I'm thinking about all day. So I'm like,
Yes.
8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time, we can look at this. But outside of that, I don't know. And it sucks though, because like then I'll like miss content. So I think it's
Yeah.
just different for everybody. But like having some kind of boundary in place to remember that like I'm a human being and other people are human beings. That's the only way, because otherwise it's a mind fuck completely.
God.
Mm.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I think that's so important to remember how impactful that is to see social media the moment you wake up and right before you go to sleep. And it's a habit I'm trying very hard to break, and it's
It's so hard.
so
Oh
goddamn
my
hard.
God.
It's
It's
such an
so hard.
addiction. It's such an
Yes.
addiction, but man, it can really set the tone for my day depending on what I see in a negative way, or yeah, like you said, give me weird fucked up dreams. Um,
Literally.
and I don't know if you experience this where it feels harder to curate on TikTok because the
Mhm.
algorithm is such that if you watch one video or like one video, it's like, hey, let me
They
give you 4 years worth of content on this
literally.
topic. And
Oh my God.
in the last few months have gotten more into the idea of strength training and
Hmm.
using the gym in that way to feel stronger and more capable. And I've really enjoyed that. But I've had to tell myself, okay, the people you're seeing in these videos, this is their full-time job, is to be
Hmm.
lifting weights in the gym, to be a trainer, to be this personality on TikTok. So yes, it's great if you want to become stronger, become more fit in whatever way, but like I have to keep reminding myself that can't be my goal, is to
Yeah.
look exactly like them, because
Yes.
I don't have the time
Who's
or
doing
really
that?
the desire.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, right. And
I
it's
don't want
like,
to live like that.
literally, I'm like, I feel like I can watch Serena Williams play tennis all day, but I'm only gonna play on like every other month's Saturday. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
just feel like it's like we all have the lane that we're in, and it's nice whenever you can look at somebody's content and be like, "Wow, how great for you! That's so cool. What can I
It's
learn
awesome.
from
Yeah.
you?" Like, I don't have to be you, and I think that like that's one of the really troubling things about followership in general. And this is something that I've struggled with as a yoga teacher and like having followership, that I'm like, it's weird because it's like, are you trying to say to people like, be like me, do like me, or are you just sharing your life? And so if it comes from a
Right.
place of like, oh, I'm just going to receive this person's truth, then like I'll take what I want and I'll leave the rest, because I don't need to be out here trying to like be. The gym example is such a good one, because that's something that I think feels really feasible. And it's like, no, but like if I just go every day and if I just do these routines every day, then eventually I'll be there. And it's
Right.
like, God, no, who has time for that? Like, that's their job, that's their life, whatever.
Right.
Love it
Right.
for them, but not for me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Love it for them. That's awesome. But yeah, anyway, it's just everything you're saying. resonates a lot.
Yes. I'm curious just to learn like what kind of shifts or practices have made the biggest difference in your evolution of self-acceptance, because now you do stuff like naked yoga, which
Totally.
sounds fucking awesome. And like how do you get to that point where you're like, yeah, there's complete acceptance and you just ooze confidence? So what kind of tools, strategies, books, anything that like got you to this place?
Oh my God. Like, how much time do we have? I think honestly, like there's a lot of crying, a lot of acceptance of very hard emotions. Like that, I think is the thing that I've been doing the most. And I use yoga as my anchoring practice. And I think that having some kind of like daily ritual practice, it definitely doesn't have to be pastoral yoga, but like doing something, it might be like running plus meditation, journaling, whatever it is, but like just a container where you can hold the emotions. Because I think a lot of the time to feel confident enough to practice yoga naked on the internet, because I'll just say like I've been practicing yoga naked, I think, as long as I've been practicing yoga, but to do it naked on the internet is like you have to accept that everyone's going to have opinions about it, that it's going to be a lot to be seen and witnessed by people in that way.
Yeah.
And it just brings up very hard emotions. And we really live in a world that does not want us to experience hard emotions. And actually, I think that judges us for feeling the hard emotions, or we judge ourselves, whatever, however that circle works. But I think that like being able to say, I'm just going to sit with these emotions and I'm just going to let them be there. And I'm going to cry and I'm going to fall apart. And that's just going to be okay. That is like how this has happened. But there are a lot of books that, they're not necessarily books that I have read, but that I hear other people reading that have made a really huge impact on them. The Body is Not an Apology by Sonia Renee Taylor comes up
Yes.
first. Yeah.
We've
Like
had Sonia on the podcast.
Sonia is everything, like
She's
everything.
amazing.
Okay.
And then the other I would say is Pleasure Activism by Adrienne Marie Brown. And those two books are like, they really go into the why and the how of decoding all of these internalized biases. And I think that I just feel really grateful to be in community with those two writers and creators. And I think that that kind of following people who do this work and who live this kind of path has also been really big for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also the practice of recording myself and actually looking at my body has been huge. And you don't have to put it on the internet. And I do think that taking a photo or a video is really different from looking in a mirror and looking at your reflection. I think that being able to hold the moment in time and actually like acknowledge this is who I am. This is like I can be present to this truth. And then looking at all the different pieces of yourself that you've been taught to be ashamed of and just questioning that. Not even, it's not good or bad. You don't have to end up on the side of like, I love my body. I think that this is something that people think that you're like, that if you're confident in your body, that you must love every part of your body. And I just have not found that to be the case. That's not my personal experience. I find that I've come to peace with my body most of the time, not all the time. And that peace means that I hate parts of it and I love parts of it. And we're just all here together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anything you can do to make that kind of container for yourself where it's okay to be a human and to not be a robot and to feel shame and to be disappointed in yourself and to feel hatred, that I think is what will yield the biggest results.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about toxic body positivity? Because it sounds like we
Totally.
touched on it a little bit just now, but
Yeah, no, body positivity can definitely go dark. And it sucks because it's like, it's never meant, the idea is not meant to be judgmental. But I think that there's something that happens where we're like, no, that's not that, like, that's you being mean about your body, or that's body negativity. You can't say that, or that's not welcome here. Or like good vibe, basically like good vibes only. Or like making it where there's some kind of hierarchy or a correct way to be body positive or to practice self-love. And and I think there's also a piece where body positivity will be like siloed to be only about certain people or certain body types. So maybe it's for like not that fat cis het white women, but it's not for everybody else. Or like maybe it's for femmes, but it's not for people who are mask of center. Like there's just so many different ways that it can become very toxic. Very, and I think that this happens with all ideologies. Like
Yeah.
anytime that there's like a big idea that can have multiple perspectives, that there's the opportunity for many different views to be held. And I think that it's an opportunity for us to step beyond dogma and to say, like, you know, there are many different ways to exist.
Yeah.
None of them, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I definitely think that in the same way that body negativity can be really toxic, I think body positivity can be equally toxic.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, I'm even like embarrassed to bring this up, but like I grew up, my natural body type is very, very skinny, but I have been made to feel kind of bad about that even growing up, where like the
Totally.
message is real women have curves and like not really having a whole lot of tit or ass and stuff like that. And like now I got fake boobs. And I'm sure it was a
Yep.
lifetime of being told that I wasn't a real woman without curves. How do you like walk the line with like being proud of your body and stuff, but also not alienating other people who maybe haven't
Mm.
had that kind of messaging towards them as well? Does that
For,
make sense?
oh my God, it makes perfect sense. And I
Oh,
also
good.
just wanted to say that, like, I really appreciate you being so vulnerable in that truth because that is something that a lot of people experience. And I think it's one of the ways that toxic body positivity exists, where there's, again, like a hierarchy where it's like there's some people for that, like, that this message is lifting up some people and it's not for everybody. And it's just very interesting to me that regardless of what your body size is, we all have shame around our bodies. We all have
Yeah.
trauma. And there's this bullshit hierarchy where it's like only one type of person deserves to feel the full brunt of their trauma and shame. So anyway, just I appreciate that. But I think that this isn't even necessarily like how I think that people should be specifically on this topic. I think this is how people should show up in general. It's like, don't judge other people. Why? You don't have to judge anybody else. Like, everybody can just do their thing. And also, you don't have to like lord your truth over somebody else's. And it's hard, I think, when we're like trying to, because I guess the situation is if you're like, I'm body positive and I love my body. And now I think that everybody else should too. Like, why does everybody else need to? Why can't you
Mm.
just do it? And I
Yeah.
think that there's a thing we look for, again, going back to like how we all want to be a part of the group. Like, we're looking for confirmation bias and looking for people to be like, to confirm, like, you're doing it
Mm.
right. That's a good job. And it's like, what if nobody needs to confirm it but you? Maybe you are enough.
Yeah.
And then that gets actually to the heart of the matter, which is not about whether or not your body is good enough. It's about whether or not you think you're good enough just as a to exist. And
Yeah.
I think that that's something that I just feel like all of this is so relevant, so like because it makes it hard for the movement to really have a positive impact when it excludes so many people. So I'm really here for this dialogue.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
This is good shit right here. This is so
Yeah.
necessary. Yeah.
When you're talking about that we're all looking for confirmation and that feeling of belonging and approval, I feel like social media has poisoned our minds in so many ways with it, where I found myself, so I just went to Costa Rica on a vacation with my
Cute.
boyfriend, and
Very nice.
I
Sounds
really,
fun. Love that.
it was so fun.
Yeah.
And I realized on the trip that I have had this kind of subconscious thing going on where every time summer rolls around, I have been pushing myself and almost punishing myself, trying to get in this summer shape so that if
Mm-hmm.
I have a photo taken of myself in a swimsuit, that I can post it and
Mm-hmm.
get approval.
Mm-hmm.
And, the classic thirst trap, whatever it is, just that feeling of people liking a photo, making you feel like you are worthy of approval in society or whatever. But my boyfriend and I had a conversation about, okay, what do we feel comfortable with now in our relationship? Like, is that something that is going to make him feel comfortable for me to be posting, like a bikini photo, knowing that there are going to be a lot of male followers leaving
Ah,
potentially sexual, gross, whatever comments?
spicy. This story is going so many places. I love
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
this is a vulnerable
So good.
conversation, but I
Yeah.
figured I would talk about it. And
Yeah.
I kind of thought about the same thing. My boyfriend's not the type to post like
Mm.
shirtless mirror selfies or anything like that. But I thought, if he posted that, and I saw a bunch of women commenting a bunch of stuff, would that make me feel uncomfortable?
Mm.
And we got to the point in the conversation where I was asking myself, why is it important to me to want to post a thirsty
Mm.
photo? Like, what is in me that still wants
Mm.
approval from men outside of just my partner?
Mhm.
And I do think it's this weird thing where it just, whatever you were saying previously was really sticking with me, of like, why can't we just approve of ourselves?
Mm.
Why is that not enough?
Man, oh my God. Thank you so much for this vulnerability. I just feel like that is so real and so relatable. And this is a question that I've come down to quite a lot. Again, like as a yoga practitioner, I'm living this practice where it's like, you need to look inside yourself. Like, don't look outside, look inside. And social
Mhm.
media is exclusively about looking outside of yourself. Like at the end of the day,
Yes.
I love the way that it's a journal ultimately. And so that's the thing that I'll always lean back on, is like, this is my journal. I'm just putting myself out there and people will see it and do whatever.
Mhm.
But I felt a lot of conflict around this. And for me, it has actually helped to learn about astrology, because I learned that I don't know, are y'all into astrology? Is this
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Okay,
Not,
A
we're
little bit
not
of
like,
everything.
we don't know that much about it, but we know our signs and
We're
stuff.
open to it.
very curious sun signs and big three, if you know them. Like I'm
Oh,
just,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
We're both
Are we
Aries, Delaney and
signs?
I.
We're
Oh,
sun signs,
yes.
right?
Oh, come on now. It's so good. Oh my God. Aries is my favorite sign. I love that so much. A double Aries show. Y'all are amazing. This is like my favorite thing.
Thank you.
Ooh, y'all have gotten into some trouble. I bet. Dude,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
so
That's
fun. Oh my
true.
God. We should go out sometime. Anyway,
Yes.
okay.
Yes,
So,
please.
but so it's helped me to learn about astrology, because I have planets. My primary planets are in like the 10th house, which is all about putting yourself. It's literally about like the public stage and public image. And like, so I'm like, oh, so it's just literally my calling in life to be seen by other people. That's why I crave it. So like that's
Mm,
the route that I went to get some kind of understanding of this, because I feel
yeah.
you. I think that there is a place where it's like, yeah, I'm posting it because I want to post a thirst trap, because I
Yeah.
would like for people other than you to look at this and to say, damn, looks good. Like I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. And the only reason that someone would find something wrong with that is out of jealousy or insecurity or like your own shit, which
Right.
I fully identify with. Absolutely. I'm like very
Yeah.
much a territorial person, and it comes from my own insecurity and not feeling seen. And so
Right.
I just think that like, I feel like we got to stop giving ourselves a hard time about wanting to be thirsty on the internet or like wanting to
Thank
be
you.
naked, because it's like we're
Yeah.
all just still like little kids. Like, do you see my new bathing suit? Like, I'm so excited,
Yes.
like it's a vibe.
Yes.
So I don't know. I'm here for it. I'm here for a
Thank
thirst trap
you.
always.
It's a chemical thing. It's an
Totally.
addiction, and
It is.
I happen to have a life. My life is very public, and in comedy, you're trying to get a bigger following, to get people to come out to shows and to see your comedy that you work so hard on. And so over time, the more followers you get, if you post something that is more thirsty, you do get a certain response to it, and it does trigger some sort of chemical release in your mind.
Literally.
So it was just a really interesting conversation in my relationship, and a
Oh yeah.
conversation with myself, to be like, yeah, I mean, do like what is the purpose behind this? Why do I feel
Mm,
like I still want to do this? And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I don't think that I'm right or wrong or my boyfriend's right or wrong for the feelings we have. It just kind of is.
literally. I feel like asking the question is the thing that's
Yeah.
interesting. It's like, oh, there's another way to think about this. Huh. I'm actively in the process of posting it, but I am thinking there are other ways to think about this. It's just like, I just feel
Yeah.
like there's no like right or wrong way to live life.
Yeah.
It's always exactly right, always exactly on time. Like it's always exactly the yoga that you need today. It's never gonna be like just you're not doing it wrong, I guess.
I would love to know why yoga became or how yoga became like your grounding practice, and also hear about your book, Yoke, and all that stuff. And a lot of the gaps that I'm sure you're filling that people do not teach with yoga because of how, westernized it's become. So anything that you want to share around yoga in general.
Totally. I really never was interested in yoga. Like, I did not care about it at all. I thought it was just something that like thin white women do. And when I was in graduate school, I was going through a period of depression, which I'm prone to depression. It was not the first or the last time. But a friend of mine was like, you should come to yoga with me. You'll love it. And I was like, absolutely not, because I had tried yoga once when I was in high school. And I was like, this is stupid. Like, everything about this is dumb. So
Yeah.
but she got me caught up on a Groupon, and it was like, what's the worst that can happen? I'll go one time. It's not a big deal.
Oh,
But like,
Groupon. It gets you.
it will get you. Anyway,
We'll get you. Yeah.
but I went, and I remember thinking that like everything about it seemed impossible. Like every posture was hard. The breath work was impossible. Like, and also the type of yoga that I was doing had mirrors that you face a wall of mirrors. And that gave me so much anxiety because I didn't realize it at the time, but I was really like avoiding mirrors at that point in my life. I did not want to see what I look like. And so it was just basically being in the class was like my nightmare. Also, I was like the only fat person, one of the only black people. And I realized though in those first classes just how often I tell myself no. Like how much I say, like we would be practicing a posture and I would just immediately be like, I can't do that. I'm not even going to try. And over time, I started to notice like, where else do I say this? How often do I
Mm.
say, I can't do it? And it's not just on a yoga mat. This is something that I do or did all the time. And just being able to notice that and to see the ways that I decided who I was allowed to be, that's really why I got into yoga, because it was a
Mm.
place where I was able to see myself more fully. And it wasn't like I was immediately really good at the postures. Like legit, just to sit on my heels or to sit with my legs crossed felt impossible to me. But it was just like medicine that I could take. And even to this day, I think of yoga as like my medicine that I take. And
Mm.
I never intended to teach yoga. It was not an interest of mine at all. And so I started sharing my yoga practice on social media because I wanted to connect with other practitioners. At that time, I was practicing yoga primarily at home alone. And so I wasn't sure like if I was practicing the postures correctly. So I would post photos of my practice just to connect with other practitioners. And what I noticed was that most people were just like, I didn't know fat people could do yoga. And I was just like, fat people can do literally anything. We do all kinds of stuff all the time. We just have a visibility problem. So I kept sharing my practice. And through that, people would reach out to me from all over the world asking me to teach them yoga. And I was like, bitch, there are thousands of yoga teachers. You do not need me to come teach you yoga. Like, I would recommend teachers and platforms. And eventually I did go to training. I really felt like I was being forced to. And when I went, I think of myself very much as like before YTT and after YTT, because what I learned during that process is that ultimately all of us are teaching and living some kind of yoga. And yoga, we think of it as like postures and like exercise essentially, but yoga is really about the balance between the different parts of your life that don't make sense. And it's yoking. That's my slang the way that I talk about yoga is like it's yoking. It's bringing together the parts of yourself that don't make sense.
Mm.
So that experience of like actually having to accept who you are at the intersection of identities, that is something that everybody needs. And the way that I understand this practice is not going to resonate for everybody, but it might resonate for even one person. And if it can resonate for one person, then they can share yoga with another person. And then that ripple effect, that will help us start to live in a world where we move from a place of love and compassion as opposed to a place of fear. Right now, we are living in a world based on fear. Everybody is moving, like you see it. I think the pandemic really threw it into a different light, but the level of warfare, the level of, I mean, just climate change, there's so many different pieces of this where we're just like very much in a fear scarcity mentality. And a way for us to start to shift out of that is to see all the different parts of ourselves and accept ourselves on an individual level and then accept ourselves on a global level. So that was the place from which I started teaching yoga. And I was really just like, literally, I'm going to make a list of everywhere that people have asked me to teach. And I'm just going to try to go to all those places. And then once I've gone to all those places, I can get back to my regular life and not do this anymore. And when I went to make a list, it was essentially everywhere in the world. So I was like, okay, cool. You just got to like do a couple years. I'll just like travel around the world. No big deal. And I did. I mean, I've taught all over the world, but I can't physically be in every place all the time. And so that's why I started the Underbelly, which is a wellness community that you can access literally anywhere that you can stream content. And we have yoga and meditation classes that are meant to meet you where you are. It's a place where you can like fart and fall down and make a mistake and like everything is okay.
Yeah.
But also like not everybody is gonna physically practice yoga, and so that's why I started writing books about yoga. And my second book, Yoke, My Yoga of Self-Acceptance, is about what happens after you start your yoga practice. So my first book, Everybody Yoga, is about literally like how do you start a yoga practice. And like you could go from never having heard of yoga to like practicing downward facing dog by the end of that book. But it really only talks about the physical experience of practicing yoga. Yoke is about the internal experience, and it's about what it means to accept those really hard intersections of identity. And so I'm talking about like internalized racism, slut shaming, capitalism, things that are like things that we, I think, as a society try not to look at, but that live inside of each of us. And so, what does it mean to say I am racist? What does it mean to say I'm fat phobic? Like, what does it mean to look at really traumatizing experiences and look at every single piece of it, and to come out on the other side and say, I'm just a human being. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. So, but yeah, Yoke is available literally anywhere the books are sold, and it's on Audible, read by me, the author.
Oh, incredible. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that's amazing.
That is the coolest story of like you just started posting yourself and you wound up with a new career, it sounds like.
Literally, that is exactly what
Wow.
happened.
And
Legit.
that is so that's so powerful. I'm a business and career consultant in my other job. And just that step of starting something just because it feels good to share, you feel called to share it for some reason. You never know what's going to happen to it. I'm curious to know, what were you doing before that, and like how that transition was for you into this completely new path that you probably didn't predict for yourself.
You know, I totally didn't. And when I look back, though, I feel like everything was leading here. So, like, my undergraduate work is in film and video production, which is what we're doing it right now. So it's like low key. But then my graduate work, what I was doing right before this, is nonprofit arts management. And I mean, all of my companies are mission based. We very much, I feel like we run like nonprofits ultimately. But when I was literally, so I had kind of a come to Jesus with myself through my yoga practice. Yoga unveiled so much for me, and it showed me how I did not want to be in graduate school for nonprofit arts management. And so I technically am still on a leave of absence from graduate school, but I took a leave to move to Durham County, North Carolina, which is where I've lived for the last decade. I'm now in Northern California, but when I first got to Durham, I didn't have a job. I didn't have a plan. Like I was just like, huh. And I did actually have a plan to go to culinary school. So this is a lesser known Jessamyn fact is that I have an associate of applied science in culinary arts. And I went because I was just like, I've always wanted to do this, but it seemed like I couldn't. So I'm just going to take the chance. And, while I was in culinary school, I worked at a restaurant and I worked as a evaluator of examinations, specifically written exams. So basically, I would sit and read essays, like 100 essays a day,
Oh my gosh.
that were all about like who even knows? It was like 11th graders in the state of Virginia, their like state written exam. Be like read 100 essays. Then I would go to my restaurant job at night, and it was a hustle, and it was something that it was deeply inspiring to me. I learned a lot through that process, and I see so many parts. I mean, even just, I think that a lot of my work at this point is just interpersonal communication. Like a lot of building a team like this is just talking to people and being in meetings. And I learned so much through those experiences that are like invaluable in the work that I do now. And when I started teaching yoga, I like literally just started teaching pay what you can classes in the park. So I would do like pay what you cans. I guess I did them on the weekends, and then I did private classes through the week. And then most weekends, though, after pay what you can, I would drive or fly or take a bus or a train to a location and teach. And that was how I ran it for years. And I feel like, I think that sometimes when you're like on the path, it'll seem like this doesn't make sense, or like, how does this go with that? Or like, this doesn't work. But when I look back, I'm like, I needed every single part of that random education. I needed all of those jobs that are not what I'm doing right now to do exactly what I'm doing right now. Like I couldn't have done it without that.
Oh, I love that. I feel the exact same way. And it's just so
Yes.
nice to hear somebody else's, like, all the transitions and pivots you made to get to this point. I get really excited by that stuff.
Me too. Totally. Oh my God. Same. Yeah.
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 Kels, any
Can I
questions?
ask you a little more about the naked yoga aspect?
Please.
Because I've never heard of naked
Please do.
yoga.
Yes.
And why is that maybe more impactful for people, more liberating? What do you love about it?
So I pretty much exclusively practice yoga naked, and I realized that like I just put on clothes to take pictures for Instagram. So I was like, we need to be talking about this more, frankly, because if you
Yeah.
are practicing yoga, even not even necessarily naked, but when you practice with fewer clothes on, you can actually engage with your body in a way that's really hard if you're wearing clothes. And there's just an access, a freedom of physical movement that then translates to an access and freedom in your spiritual movement as well, so that you're able to just get deeper into the postures and have a deeper connection with yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that, especially if you've ever felt ashamed of your body, it's a really healing practice to practice yoga without clothes on. And what's really cool about teaching, you can practice yoga naked with me on OnlyFans, and you can get to that on my website, jessamynstanley.com. But what's cool, I think, about practicing it online is that you can practice in the privacy of your own home. You don't have to go, and nobody has to look at you naked, except for your dog or your kid or your partner or whoever else is there.
All right.
But like, maybe that's fine. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like being able to have a private space to yourself, though, where you can like do that deep healing work, like crying over whatever somebody said about your belly when you were in fourth grade, or like thinking about the shame that you put on yourself for your chin, or whatever the thing is that you were told to hate about yourself. Making a quiet, safe space where you can find respect for yourself is invaluable. And it shows up not just on a yoga mat, and it's not just about like your exercise practice. It's about how you show up at work, how you show up in your relationships, how you show up with your children, and how you show up as a human being.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to try naked yoga.
I know. I'm
I have
excited.
my yoga mat out
Oh,
right
I'm
now.
so excited.
Like,
Yes, you have
Right
all
after.
the tools right now. Literally, you're
Yeah.
good to
I'm
go.
Love that. You mentioned that yoga became this tool for you to kind of make you aware of how often you were saying no to yourself. Could you
Mhm.
share an experience of how that translated into another area of your life where you caught yourself in a moment of saying
Mm.
no, and then what you did in that moment differently?
Oh my goodness. How many moments? I feel like it's something that happens to this day. I think that there's a lot of different ways, and this is what's going to be more current for me. There's a lot of things along the way, but I notice the ways that I have decided who I'm allowed to be in a professional sense. Like what are the places that I'm allowed to show up? How is it okay for me to be seen? And they're just these very subtle no's that I don't even question. I'm like, well, yeah, obviously. Like, and I watch people do it all the time. And it's particularly devastating with my loved ones who I'm like, you're so much more than this, but you said, no, that's all I can do. That's plenty. I can't do more than that. And what's crazy about this life is that you can do anything. Anybody can do anything. It really doesn't matter. And we just decide based on whatever it is that we can't. And so, okay, let me get like very specific. The first thing that comes up is like magazines, and I'm thinking about like being on the cover of Cosmopolitan and Self, and oh, I'm sighing like, oh, yeah, no, this things happen.
Ah,
But these experiences of like being in front of people in a way that is very scary and I think is very lonely. And more than anything, it's just very lonely. And there's a big part of me that says no to that. And then there's a part of me that's like, who's really saying no? Is that like a voice from your childhood? Is that your like your perception of your first grade teacher and you're thinking that like maybe they think that you're not good enough? Is it that boy that didn't acknowledge your secret admirer note in seventh grade, Stephen McQuaid? I've never forgotten. Is it like whatever the thing is? Like, is that who's saying that? Because actually, I think you're like lit, stoked to be on the cover of a magazine. Actually, like I think you're actually
yeah.
fine. I think you need to chill. So like
Yeah.
moments like that where it's like, okay. And I mean, even like thinking about writing everybody yoga and even thinking about just what it has meant to promote it and share it with people. I definitely felt a lot of shame because I felt like I'm not good enough. I don't deserve this. Like there's something wrong with me. I shouldn't be here. Somebody else should be doing this. And just noticing all of that. It's not even about like really consciously shifting the idea. It's just noticing and then being like, is that really how I feel? Or am I just telling myself no because, again, like, because of that thing that happened in ninth grade, or like because of like that one time that I didn't finish that project, or like, whatever the thing is, whatever the story is that
Hmm.
gets embedded very young, just noticing it for me has been really helpful.
Do you have any advice within relationships if your partner
Mm.
struggles with body image and body positivity and how to support them? And it's such a hard and delicate thing, I think, in relationships when your partner is somebody that struggles with it.
That's a really good question, and I appreciate you asking that. I think that's something that like it's just hard because it's like we're trying to figure out ourselves, and then you're like you have a partner too that it's like, oh shit, I gotta worry about you too. So that's my
Yeah.
first thing is like um trying not to let codependency become the thing that like dictates how you're going to respond to another human being. Cause like I feel like it's really hard when you take on the emotions of your partner and you're like, how can we feel this together? How can we shoulder this together? And it's like, mm-mm, that's your stuff. That's your stuff. And it's no shade, but that's yours.
Yeah.
What I can know is that if I'm living my truth and if I'm going back to my patterns, my practices, my rituals, for you to be near, to be close together, that's enough. And I think that to be really affirmative of your partner, always trying to say the loving thing, being truthful and honest and authentic, but always trying to be loving is like never goes amiss.
Mm-hmm.
And like not trying to fix everything for them, like not trying to like or like correct them or be like there's no, you're beautiful, don't say that, or like don't say, like don't belittle or diminish their experience or like gaslight them. It's like let them have their body shame and say your truth and be like, I think you're fucking gorgeous. So literally whatever it is that you're like, you can feel that way. You feel that way, but like, this is how I feel. And I think about this a lot because I frequently, so I'm polyamorous. I have multiple partners and I have multiple partners who have like, they have their body shit.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just feel like not making their shit my shit and knowing that a part of my shit is loving them and that what I can offer them is that unconditionally.
Yeah.
That's just where I stand with it.
Yeah. I think that's super healthy.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you can leave us with that we can be more mindful of around this topic, whether it's in conversation with ourselves or other people, whether it's practical tips or just, mindfulness tips, anything that you want to share?
Oh my God, that you matter, that you exactly as you are, you matter and you're here on purpose. And whatever it is that you're dealing with, whatever feelings you have about your body, whatever dissatisfaction you feel in your life, it's happening on purpose because you can handle it. And that you were made for this, and that we need you exactly as you are. We need you to show up as you are so that we can all shine together.
Oh
I
gosh,
love it. Thank
your
you.
words just, they get right into the soul. They get in there, they stay in there.
I was
fucking
trying
love
to
it.
take up, I really was like, how can I burrow into you? That's what I was trying to do.
It worked. Oh my gosh. And where can people find you, your work, all of that? Where can they do all that good stuff?
You can find me at My Name is Jessamyn on social and at Jessamyn Stan on like TikTok or Twitter. And you can find me on my website, jessamynstanley.com. And you can practice yoga with me on the Underbelly at theunderbelly.com.
Amazing.
Hell yes.
Have my phone. I'm opening Instagram to follow you right now.
Yay,
Incredible.
cute.
And
Awesome.
I'm about to do naked yoga. I'll let
Yes.
you know.
Oh my gosh. Please keep me updated and informed on all fronts. Y'all are amazing.
Thank you so
You
much
too.
for coming
Thank
on
you
the
for
show.
being here.
Yeah, thank you for having
Jessamyn. This was
me.
so awesome.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Y'all are such a joy.
I loved that conversation. Jessamyn is such like a calm, powerful energy, right?
Yes, yes. Well, I love episodes where we end up, at least for me, opening up about stuff that I wasn't even planning on getting into this episode. But sometimes that's what the guest brings out because they're just so accepting and make you want to get into those sort of conversations.
Yeah, I felt like everything just felt very grounded and calm. Like I just always appreciate when somebody has the ability to just make me feel comfortable and relaxed just upon meeting them. I think that can be challenging to do. But yeah, I loved that conversation.
Me too.
Let's see. We do have an iTunes review of the episode. This is from Stites or Steets, perhaps. It says, good shit with the poop emoji. I love it. One of our segment names. Funny and relatable while they openly admit to not being experts on many of the subjects they discuss. True. They drop some serious wisdom born from their own experiences. Oh, that's awesome.
That's very nice. Thank you
so much. If you want to leave a review, go ahead and go to the iTunes, click some buttons. You might get right on the show, baby. Get a nice little shout out. We'd really appreciate that.
Yes, please. Del, do you have a segment?
I have a kind of a bad shit or the fuck moment. So when I was enjoying myself in Catalina Island the other day, one of our cars was getting towed off of the street. Cam went out to the street, did not see our car, and apparently I grew up in California and I have never heard this ever. If you leave your car parked on the street, even if it's outside your apartment or home or whatever, if it's on the street, it can get towed if you don't move it within 72 hours. What the fuck? I'm like, we
What?
live here. We live,
What?
somebody towed our car and we literally live 10 feet away from it. How is that? How is
Oh
that illegal to
God.
do? And we also like, we're on a street that has apartment complexes and homes and townhomes. It's like not everybody has the what do you call it? The garage space that
Right.
most homes do in other areas. And so we were just so dumbfounded that we had never heard of that. And especially because I was born and raised here and that's never
Yeah.
happened. And we have left our car for way longer than that without any issue, as do
Yeah.
most people who think that they're fine on
Yeah.
the street that they live. So yeah, $400 later for getting our fucking car out of what do they even call it? The tow shop. I don't know what it's
Damn.
called. Yeah. So
I'm
that
so
was
sorry.
that's okay. I'm just like I just think it's more stupid than anything. It's just a dumb rule.
Yeah. Oh my God. I've never
Oh,
heard of
what?
that.
So yeah, be careful whether you're a Californian or not, even if you visit here or whatever, just I guess move your car every couple days. We're just
Jeez.
going to move our car like 10 feet up and like
Ugh.
just to a different location. I mean, it's just so silly. Like, okay, we're spending our time on that, but not other things that we could be
Yeah.
focused on. So anyway, that was my car towing rant. But yeah, it's a PSA for anybody who lives out here.
People need to get a fucking life.
I know. And I'm like, did somebody complain about the car or was it just somebody's job to take a look at the cars that day and then the next day? I don't even know how it works, but
I'm sorry.
I'll get you. It's okay.
Yeah, we've had bad car luck, both of us lately, because I got rear-ended.
Oh
I
my
talked
God, that's
about it.
right.
Yeah, I talked about it briefly at the end of one of the episodes a few weeks back, but yeah, dang, nothing will shake your day up. I mean, literally, like that. You're just sitting there. I was just sitting at a red light. This girl, just not paying attention, slammed right into me. It's the worst feeling. It's
Oh,
horrible.
it's scary. Yeah,
Yeah, it is
very
scary.
scary. But
We are going to save my segment for a later episode because I want to talk about Love is Blind, but Delaney still has
oh,
to finish the reunion. And granted, by the time this comes out, it will be a little bit of yesterday's news. But I still think if you're a big fan of Love is Blind, it's just fun to talk about it whenever. So Delaney and I are going to talk about
totally.
it on an upcoming episode.
Yes, it is garbage and I love it. And I think, was I the one who got you hooked on Love
You
is Blind?
did. You did get me hooked on Love is Blind.
I've
And
got, but you know what? It's like some people stay together.
I
So
love it.
is it really garbage? We don't know.
No, I love it.
But yeah, I showed up on Sunday evening to watch it live, and then saw some kind of tweet. Somebody sent me a tweet from Netflix saying that they were not releasing it. So I'm halfway through the reunion because
Yeah.
I showed up on time and they didn't. So yeah,
Hey,
gonna do a little
yeah.
extra work now, catch up. But I'm
Well,
excited to chat about with you.
me too. They did release it, but it was like a live stream and they had technical difficulties and all kinds of stuff. So then they took it down and
Oh,
edited it and then put it back up. So there was a period of time where you couldn't access it.
look, nothing needs to be live.
I
Just
know.
film
What are
it,
we
edit it,
doing?
and put it out. Like, why do we need this? We don't need things to be live.
No,
What needs to be live ever? Nothing.
no,
Nothing.
no. Doesn't
Just
make
what
any
more?
difference.
No, more room for errors and nerves for people and mistakes. Like, just film
Yeah,
it and give it to me when you said you were gonna. That's
exactly.
all.
Exactly. God damn it.
But yeah, TBD on the Love is Blind, baby.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, hopefully see some of you helpsters in Burbank this weekend at Flappers and at other tour dates coming up. And that's all I got.
Awesome. DelaneyFisher.com for my podcast over there. If you're looking to build a career, business, whatever it is, just holistic career guidance over there. Have a lot of awesome guests on to share their wisdom as well. We'd love to have you over. It's free, it's private. DelaneyFisher.com.
Sweet. All right, guys. We love you. We hope you have a great week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Self-Helpless podcast. You can find our Patreon community, merch, and our individual work at selfhelplesspodcast.com. We'd be thrilled if you shared this episode with a friend, or feel free to post it on Instagram and tag at Self-Helpless Podcast so we can repost you and say thank you.